Okay, let's get ready for our next speaker. I'm so excited to have him here. Please give a warm welcome to Doug Johnson.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it. It's nice to be back at the Innisphere. For those of you who don't know me, I used to work here at the Innisphere with Mike Freeman, and I led the Access to Capital program working with our entrepreneurs. And in that role, I would go out and meet with investors primarily across the state, but also nationally and internationally, and really help try to understand how they invest, at what stage, in what dollar amounts, and then bring that back to our entrepreneurs here at the Innisphere and really help the entrepreneur understand the type of funding that they were going for and then make meaningful connections for that funding. And I really enjoyed that work. And it was through that work that I found out about Tiger 21. I was in Denver. I'd met with a family office friend, and he said, there's a group in New York that is interested in these types of investments. You ought to check them out. So I go back to the office here, and I look up Tiger 21, and it's this clunky old website, and I thought it was an New York angel investment group. And so I reach out, sight unseen, info@tiger21.com. Hey, my name's Doug Johnson. Here's my LinkedIn profile. Word on the street is you want to come to Colorado. If I can help your launch here be successful, let me know. 2 minutes later, I get a phone call. Little did I know that phone call would change my life. Yes, Doug, we want to be in Colorado. We've got members in Colorado already. One's in Vail flying to DC. 2 are in Denver flying to Dallas. We would love to have a group in Colorado. What is this? Fast forward, they fly me to New York. I meet the founder. I interview a couple of members, and I find out that this is a peer learning group for very successful entrepreneurs who have gone through the journey and have exited their business. Maybe not fully, but have had a liquidity event. To put it in perspective, our average member is late 40s, early 50s, and about $100 million in net worth, having grown businesses in oil and gas, energy, real estate, software, healthcare, business services, cryptocurrency, you name it. They've grown the firms and had partial liquidity, and now late 40s, early 50s, and by all accounts are at this level of success. Now what? And everybody knows me by what I've done. Yesterday, I was in my office as the CEO. Someone's bringing me coffee, and they know that I'm the CEO. The next day, I'm in the back of the line at Starbucks getting my own coffee, and nobody knows or cares who I am or what I've done. And it leaves this void of identity and this loss. And so in hearing that this was a group to really come together and continue learning and say, how do we navigate that transition from success to significance, I said, I'm in. So this was in 2015. I said goodbye to the Innisphere. And unfortunately, you never say goodbye to the Innisphere. They loop you back in, and I'm on the board. And still working with Mike Freeman. And we meet monthly down in Denver in these facilitated peer learning groups and really try to help each other out. And one of the number one issues, mental health. So that's why I'm here today. I've been on this journey both personally and professionally, navigating entrepreneurs and mental health. And I'd really like to frame my time together today around 3 topics. And the first is up and to the right. And if you've known me, you've seen me present, you know that there's not a whiteboard that I don't love. And so indulge me because I have to whiteboard or I can't speak. So, like with any business and with life, but with our business, this is the chart we like to see, up and to the right. We like to see our revenue growth, our business growth, our profit growth. This is what we would all love to see. This is what we show our investors. What's going to happen if they invest in our business? This is the type of growth they're going to get. Oftentimes it's the hockey stick. This is how we're going to take off, up and to the right. In our life, this is what we hope our life is like too, that our life is going to go up and to the right. And unfortunately, as we all know, number one, this would be extremely boring. And number two, life just gets in the way. Things happen. For my own personal journey, I would have to plot it, if I did it, maybe this, and then I would say today we're on the way up. And what I would say about life, the wonderful thing about life, is in these moments, we don't appreciate these moments until we get to these moments. And this is where life is lived and where the lessons are learned. In business, in our personal lives, everywhere, this is where we really learn about who we are. For me, nice middle class upbringing, 2 working parents. My dad worked for a utility company. My mom was a nurse. Pretty plain. If you want to know anything about me, I am the forgotten middle. My parents made just enough money that we didn't qualify for any grants or assistance to go to college, and yet they didn't make enough money to pay for college. My grades were good enough, but not the best, so I wasn't at the top of my class, but I was a good student. I didn't get into trouble, so I was the teacher's pet because they didn't have to worry about me or pay attention to me. I was the forgotten middle. And so that's how I lived my life. And with my family, I was the forgotten middle. That they loved me, no doubt, but they were working full time. And I was self-contained and took care of myself. And so we don't have to worry about Dougie. Dougie's fine. Well, Dougie wasn't fine. Dougie was lonely. Dougie didn't know where he belonged in the world. Dougie didn't have any guidance. He never had any counselors or mentors or advisors because I didn't need any. I was just there. And so I went through my school career, and it was just natural, well, you'll go to college. You'll go to CSU. And so I go to CSU, and I work. I go to class, I work, and that was about it. That was my college experience. It wasn't a fun college experience. It wasn't a welcoming, it was just something, a checkbox of life. And it was in college that I first realized this emptiness, this hollowness of not belonging, not connecting anywhere, and was first diagnosed with depression. My parents were in shock. Depression? What? We've never had a problem with you. This is a problem that we've got to deal with, and they want to prescribe you Prozac? They want to put you on Prozac? Oh my goodness. Who's this doctor? He's a drugger. He just immediately goes to drugs. And my mom couldn't believe, and my dad didn't understand, that somebody could be sad, could feel sad. Your life is good. You're in school. Things are fine. You're working. You're earning money. How can you be sad? And it's not that they were bad parents or mean or hateful. They just didn't understand the stigma around mental health. And so I went on Prozac, and what a ride. Boy, I quickly realized that, and I was able to graduate and then find my way. I ended up in my career, and at that point, it looked like I was going up and to the right. I was trained as a stockbroker in a leadership program with Charles Schwab. Everything looked good. I met somebody, we got married, we were riding the real estate wave in the late 90s in Denver doing fix and flips. Next thing I know, we're going to have twins. We have an opportunity to move back to Fort Collins in 2002, open up the Schwab office here, get involved in the community and leadership programs. Life seems pretty good. Seems like I'm back on track. I'd gotten off the Prozac, but I was on a little bit lighter antidepressant that left me feeling overweight and asexual. It really just zapped my sex drive. To the point that I thought everything was going okay, and yet there was something missing, that I would go out and I would self-medicate with alcohol. I was the good time Charlie who could bring people together, but what I found was the reason why people would come together and I could create those connections, because I was paying for the drinks. And I didn't get that wake-up call until my wife at the time walked in 2007, the fall of 2007, and said, I want a divorce. There was no abuse, there was no infidelity, there was no cause for the traditional cause of divorce. She said, I feel like I'm living with my brother, and I'm not sure that I ever loved you. And I just remember sitting back on the couch and just exhaling and being like, whoa, have I screwed up? Where did I screw up? And I thought I needed to do more. I wasn't going to give up. I thought I needed to do more. I thought I needed to earn more money, get more involved in the community, create more things. And that was the last thing that was needed. And so we finalized our divorce very quickly in 2008. And it was that time I went on a journey. I'd just been named the director of University Connections. So I'm working with the president of the university. I'm working with the mayor of Fort Collins. I'm working with the president of the Community Foundation on issues around homelessness, on affordable housing, on energy, on transportation, trying to keep up appearances while my personal life is falling apart. Becoming a single dad who now only sees his children every other week and every other weekend. Every other week on Wednesdays, and then every other weekend. And I didn't know how to deal with it, felt less than, and so I self-medicated with alcohol and continued to do so. I got involved in a relationship in 2010 with a doctor who had just moved here, and I found out later that she had moved here to kill herself. She had borderline personality disorder, was fleeing a relationship in Utah, had moved here, and her plan, she had gotten a place along the Mason corridor, an apartment, and her plan was to walk in front of a train. I didn't know it at the time. And we got into a relationship, a very abusive relationship, emotionally and verbally. I was the recipient of that. And I stayed in that relationship because I wasn't about to let another relationship end. I wasn't going to fail this time. And so I put up and endured and brought my children into this relationship, and they saw some incredible, unfortunate behavior. I isolated myself from the community. I quit drinking. Anybody who knows me, how social I am, I virtually disappeared. I was kept at home, controlled, because if I would go out into the community, she assumed I was doing bad things. And so I stayed home to avoid the conflict. And my parents couldn't tell me what was going on. My friends couldn't tell me what was going on. And finally, I realized I have to get out. And so I got out. And I moved back in with my parents. And I hit rock bottom. And I knew at that point, I felt like I was worth more to my children as a life insurance policy than I was active as the parent in their life. And fortunately, I didn't go down that. I didn't make that choice. I chose to reach out for help. And so here is rock bottom for me. I reached out for help, and I'm thankful for Dr. Shauna Fisher, who, as my therapist, I showed up in her office random, sat on her couch. She looked at me aghast because I weigh about 200 pounds. I weighed 165 pounds due to anxiety and stress from the abusive relationship. I was pale, I was thin, I was white. I sat on her couch and she said, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" Told her what was going on, and she handed me a book called Stop Walking on Eggshells, Living with Borderline Personality Disorder. And I burst into tears because all of a sudden, right in front of me on the printed page was everything I had just lived over the last 18 months. And I thought it was me. I was convinced it was me. And we started doing the work. And she said, not only are we doing mental health work, EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, she said, I'd like to think about your spiritual health. And so I reached out and I found, it wasn't Mary, but it was like Mary. It was Reverend Peggy Christensen. She's an ordained Presbyterian minister, but she's practiced in Eastern philosophy as well as Native American beliefs. She taught me how to meditate. She taught me how to calm my mind, because the negative tapes that were playing in my mind about how bad of a person I was, that I'd failed at a marriage, I'd failed at a relationship, I'd allowed myself to be in an abusive relationship, and that I was living with my parents. I needed to turn those tapes off, recognize them, turn them off, and start rebuilding. It was also during that time that I started to think about my health, and it's been such a lovely ride back up, to the point where I actually felt that I was worthy of love and could love and give love. And that resulted in where we're at today. And so it's been quite the journey. And yet to look at me and to hear this, a lot of you may not know this journey. A lot of us have been on similar paths. And so I would stress, let's be kind to each other, because we don't know what the journey has been. For me, I am eternally thankful for 3 people in my life. Shauna Fisher, who taught me that mental health is as important as physical health. Jeannie Suter, who has taught me how to take care of my physical health and my spiritual health. Reverend Peggy Christensen. The 3 of them together, mind, body, and spirit, has really transformed my life, allowed me to recognize patterns, self-awareness, the voices that were telling me how awful a person I am, and I still get those. In my role with Tiger 21, I'm a leader of leaders. These are people who, by all accounts, have had incredible success in their life and are yet at the table looking for direction and leadership that I provide as a facilitator, as their chair. When I drive to our monthly meetings in Denver, I get the negative self-talk. Who the heck do you think you are to stand in front of these people and try to lead them? And what do you have to offer? You're a phony. You're a fake. You're a fraud. They're going to find out about you. It's going to catch up to you soon enough, and they're going to find out. I'm able to, because I've got tools, recognize that and say, oh, I hear you. I know what you are. I know what you're trying to do, and I'm choosing not to let you sabotage me today. I'm not trying to stop you. I'm not trying to force you. I'm not trying to create anxiety and raise my anxiety by saying, oh my goodness, why am I hearing this? It's, I know who you are and what you're doing, and it's okay. And by the time I get to Denver and I stand up in front of our meeting and say, okay, let's gather around the table and let's open with gratitude for all the blessings in our life, I stand there and give gratitude to be in front of them, to be here today, living my best life, still on the journey of growth, but with the tools and the opportunity and the people around me and the ability to give love and receive love. And so I share this story with all of you. One, there is, as Dawn shared, there is no one size that fits all. If you need medicine, if you need listening, if you need meditation, if you need spiritual, find what works for you. Just like in entrepreneurship, we continually iterate to find that product market fit for ourselves. And that combination that will allow us not only to endure, but to thrive. And that is just a constant process. Just like we're constantly listening to our customers and trying to identify what they need and want, we are our own customer first. And that's what I'll close on today. The one thing that with entrepreneurs that we create is this myth that entrepreneurship is your ticket to success, your ticket to freedom, your ticket to everything that you want to live. And it can be, with the asterisk that Be ready for stress, anxiety, doubt, failure, rejection, and here's your toolkit to deal with it. So, in using the whiteboard again, I'd ask you to think about the power of the pyramid. And unfortunately, for most of us, this is our pyramid. Does this look very stable? No. This is where anxiety and stress comes in, because if self is up here and our startup or our business is here, because we're all in, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to go all in, and you got family and friends and activities. So many times on the entrepreneurial journey, we hear and we celebrate the hustle, the grind, all in, 18-hour days, 70-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. You're all in because we got to make it work. We're putting money at work. We've got to make this happen. Out of fear. This is what I'm being told is successful and sexy, and the wonderful part about being an entrepreneur. I'm responsible for people's money. I'm responsible for for employees. I'm responsible to deliver product. You got to be all in. This is unsustainable. A pyramid can't stay balanced on its tip. What we found with the most successful entrepreneurs, we got to flip the pyramid. And we've got to be okay with putting ourselves first and prioritizing self-care. That if we want to be everything we want to be to our family, to our friends, to our business, our career, the only way to scale that success is we've got to take care of our mind, our body, and our spirit, and be present. That way we can be everything we want to be and show up in life the way we want to show up. And that is the building blocks to stability and long-term success. Thank you very much for your time, for listening to me, and I hope there's some hope here, a message of hope.